Alright, we're going to look at how to play the A chord. I'm going to give you a few options here. The notes in the A chord are A, C sharp, and E, so any combination of those three notes give you the A major chord, and here are a few ways to do it. Here is a 3-string version, so we're not going to use the low E, the A, or the D string here. On the G, we're going to play a 2nd fret. On the B, we're going to play a 2nd fret, and then the open high E string. So I chose to put a 1 and 2 here for fingering, but it really doesn't matter if you want to use other fingers for that. So there's a 3-string A chord. Here is a 4-string A chord. So here we're not going to use the high or the low E. We're going to play the A open. And then on the D, the G, and the B string, we're going to play 2nd fret. So, and you could just use one finger to bar that if you want. So again, you can figure out which fingers you want to use. And then finally, this is the most common A chord probably, the 5-string version here. We're not going to use the low E. We're going to play the A open. And then on the D, G, and B string, just like the last time, we're going to use all 2nd fret. Typically you're going to use a 1st, 2nd, 3rd finger, but not necessary to use those three. And then you're going to play the high E open, and that's a very common A chord. You could include the low E because that note is in the chord, but it's going to sound a little bit clunky. But if you wanted to play an A with a low E in the bass, that's how you would do it. But anyway, here are some, these are 3 typical ways to play the A chord. Now let's see what they look like on the guitar. Alright, this is what the A chords look like up close. So we're going to start with the 3-string version of the chord. So just using the E, the B, and the G string. Ignore this mark on the D string because we're not using it anyway. So put our 1st finger on the G, 2nd fret. 2nd finger can go on the B, 2nd fret, and make sure you're not blocking out that high E string. So if you play 3 strings, it'll sound like that. Alright, so that's the simplest version. The next one was a 4-string version, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to bar my finger across the tape there on the 2nd fret of the D, the G, and the B string. I'm not playing the high E, and but I am including the A open. So 4 strings. Sounds like that. Alright, and then finally the 5-string version. We're going to put our fingers in the same place, but I'm going to use different fingers here so that I don't block out that high E string. So 2nd fret again, 1st finger on the D, 2nd finger on the G, 3rd finger on the B is pretty typical fingering, and we're going to play 5 strings like that. So sometimes I'll use this fingering, sometimes I'll use a 2, 3, 4 like that. So depending on what chord I'm going to next or coming from. Also once in a while I will use my 1st finger to bar across 2 strings, kind of like on an angle like that, and then my middle finger, I'll put it on the B string. I could still play 5 strings without blocking out that E string this way. And that sometimes is a way to do that chord as well. So anyway, that's how to play the A major chord.